Hey there, hello. Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foot Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. How are you guys doing today? So I come on a lot and try to talk to you about different explanations about different things with respect to purchasing and selling homes, buying a new home, doing a mortgage, the real estate process, the contract process, the closing process. And the one thing that I find a lot is that people tell me all the time that they really have no idea what the title company's responsibility is, other than that's where you go to sign all the paperwork when you want to buy your house. So most people don't understand all the different things that go into the process, and that they have the choice to choose who does their closing. And so I wanted to just take a second and explain to you why that matters and how it can affect you after closing. So the company that does your closing basically does three very important things. And it's not just signing the paperwork for your closing. It's not just making sure that everything in your closing it runs smoothly as far as getting all of that paperwork together. When you first start working with a title company, the title company actually does a search of that ownership, and it's called your title. The title is the chain of ownership of the property that you're buying. So we actually go back and look over 60 years who owned that property, who they had mortgages with, what kind of things happened while they owned that property, because that all affects the ownership of the property. And so all of that information is called the title of that property. The title is not the thing you hold in your hand like you do with the title of a car. The title is the ownership chain of that property. So the title company does that search, and then not only do they do that search, but they actually investigate all that information and make sure that all of the things that happened in that ownership were properly taken care of and properly transferred and released, and all of the things that show up in that, that all the right people signed off on the documents, that all of the loans or liens or things that could affect the ownership have been taken care of. And you may think, wow, a property has changed hands several times, so several different title companies have touched that, so maybe obviously you would think that there shouldn't be any problem, and that may be true, but sometimes there's things that you can't discover by doing just the search that it may come up later that could affect you. So the title company does that research and investigates the things that are in there, and then they are problem solvers. They work to get those things resolved. And so we do that before you ever actually get to the closing table. We coordinate everything for your closing and actually sit down with you at closing. We coordinate all the people, all the paperwork, and again, a little bit of problem solving if things come up, making sure that any inspections that need to be done have been coordinated, make sure all the people are coordinated and all the paperwork is coordinated, which can be a little bit challenging because there's quite a few different people involved in the process. And so making sure that all of their interests and responsibilities come together at the same time is very important. So we do that part of the closing, and then after the closing, this is still part of that second part of the process. Our job is to make sure all the paperwork gets back to where it belongs. Some goes to the mortgage company, some goes to the county to get recorded, some goes to the buyer, some goes to the seller. So lots of different places that all of this paperwork goes. So we make sure that all of the money and the paperwork goes back to where it belongs, because that's the final part of that closing process. And then the third part of what we do for you is I say it all the time, we protect your home ownership. And the way we do that is we actually give you insurance that guarantees that you own what you think you purchased. And, that sounds kind of obvious, but it is not as clear cut as it seems. Part of the reason we do that search of the title initially, and we do all of that investigating, and we make sure everything comes together as it's supposed to, is we are guaranteeing that what you're purchasing is exactly what you thought you were purchasing. So we have to make sure that what the seller thinks they're selling is in fact what you think you're buying, and we want to make sure that all of the pieces come together so that you are properly protected. Because at the end of the day, when you walk away from that closing, you may think, wow, I've got my keys, I've got my house, now it's my house, it's my responsibility, and everything's all good. That sounds absolutely perfect, but if someone comes back and makes a claim against your ownership, let's say that they had an ownership interest in that property that wasn't discovered in that title search, then they can make a claim against your ownership, and you have to defend yourself because that's your home, that's the place that you live, and you don't want to have to not have some protection to make sure that your ownership is protected in that property. And it covers you for as long as you own that property, and you don't pay a deductible like you do with a traditional insurance. So we actually insure that property and give you a insurance policy that guarantees that you own that property. So a title company does a lot of different things. They don't just sit and disseminate the paperwork at the closing. And so the reason I wanted to bring this up about choices today is because there are four different things you get to choose when you're going through buying a property. You can choose the realtor you're going to work with. Very important. You can choose the mortgage lender you're going to work with. Also very important. You're going to choose the property that you want, your new home. Very, very important. And then you need to also know that you can choose and should choose the title company that does your closing. The title company is a very important part of that process, and you shouldn't let someone else make that choice for you without you understanding that whole process. And the reason is because when it's all said and done, you want to make sure that you're working with a company that has a great track record of being able to protect your interest in that property. So, my 2 cents for the day. If you have a question about that or anything else that we talk about, please reach out to me. Let me know how I can help you find the answer, or if I can answer that question for you. But what I want to leave you with today is I want you to make those choices on who actually handles these things in this process for you. Not just your real estate agent, not just your house, not just the mortgage, but also the company that protects your home ownership. Very, very important. You have the right to choose. And if we talk all of the time, people reach out to me all the time, and then we don't end up getting to do their closing because they didn't realize they had the right to make that choice and say, I want to work with this title company. So let me know if you have questions. If you are feeling the love, I really appreciate it. If you hit that share button, it would help me so much. Getting the information out that we try to talk about to the people that you know, because I don't know them. So I'd really appreciate it if you did that too. Hit that share button. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. I love talking to you every couple of days about things with respect to real estate. The real estate market's really heating up. So if you have questions, you can also go to our website. There's lots of resources there, www.foottitlegroup.com. I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foot Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.